Actually, I think they will learn it from this podcast because I didn't tell them.
Wow.
I did my visa on January 15th, and January 16th is a terrorist attack in Burkina Faso.
Oh, wow.
Very bad terrorist attack. Like 10, maybe 20 people die in the attack, yeah. And I had one of the employees call me crying, saying, I can't take it anymore. And it's like, okay, we have to stop.
Wow. How has mom's passing impacted the way you look at work? Has there been times where people just assumed something on you because, like, you're white, you're from France, you come to, West Africa, and there's historical history, and then people just have this prejudice towards you? And how do you react to that?
Yeah, so for example,
What's up, everybody? We are here once again chilling in Dakar, Senegal today for an exclusive with Mathias, the co-founder and CEO of Julaya. Julaya is a B2B payments platform that operates in Francophone markets. Right now, they started in Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, as well as Benin. A lot more countries coming soon. And what they do is B2B payments processing. So they enable businesses to collect payments, make payments, do bulk disbursements for payments, as well as give you a card so you can manage and control your expenses with the accounting system that they provide directly. Mathias recently raised $5 million backed and led by Speed Invest, a fund that's based in Europe. And also they got a few fun people involved in the round, such as Edo Mendy, a Chelsea football star. Well, let's see where he goes next. Mathias, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you so much for being here.
Very pleased to have you in the country of Teranga, hospitality, as they say in Senegal.
Hey, he says Teranga. I also heard it's the home of Wolof, right? The original jollof rice.
Exactly. I won't go into this debate because I know, like, I am neutral. I know sweets.
You're neutral in the debate.
Yes, completely neutral.
So Mathias and I actually met for the first time in Zanzibar, in Tanzania.
Yeah.
When he came and we were discussing building our businesses and so on. And now he says, you know what? You guys should come over to Senegal, and that's why we're here. So here in Senegal today. So Mathias, let's dive straight into it. So tell me and tell the audience about your background. Like, where's home for you originally?
So I am French.
Okay.
I was born in France, in a small city in the center of France.
Okay.
This city is home to, is not very well known, but for China. So we make porcelain.
Okay.
It used to be a very famous city for that. And now it's kind of like a dead city. It's called Limoges. And actually, it's a word in French when you want to fire someone, you say you limoge someone. It means like you send them far away.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's where I was born.
Okay.
But
so you got sent far away, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, I come from far.
Okay.
But so I, was raised there. I did my high school there, and then I went to do my studies in Paris. Political science. That was amazing because, I didn't know anything but my countryside, almost countryside. It's a city, but I lived actually outside Limoges.
Yeah.
Like from my family, my mom's side is from the region, let's say, and my dad's side is from the West Indies.
Okay.
So my grandfather was born in the West Indies, and he moved just after the Second World War to France.
Okay.
His dad fought in the World War, and then he moved there like maybe 1960 or something. And this is where he met my grandmother, and my whole family now gravitates around there. So my dad lives there.
Yeah.
He's back and forth between Martinique from the West Indies and Limoges. But my aunts live there, my grandmother lived there, my mother used to live there, etc. So all my family is from this region.
Limoges.
Yeah.
Wow. And so my French sucks. I've been in Dakar the last few days, and I think it's Je m'appelle Benjamin. The accent is good too?
Yeah.
He says yeah.
As good as my English accent, so you can tell.
And then I need to sign up for like a course for this French, because I tried to, we were going around, I was trying to get a taxi, and we just had to call Mathias to figure out the taxi first, because I was acting like, oh, I want to go from here to here, and it was tough. But no, it's good. I need to practice and learn my French more. So I can confirm that Mathias is from the West Indies. You know why? Because I've seen this guy on the dance floor. This guy's got the moves. So when there's music, if you ever see Mathias anywhere and there's music, you better like stand back and like ask him for lessons, because this. So where's that love for the music?
Oh no, I owe it not to West Indies. I owe it, well, actually yes, but for Zouk music. Yeah. I don't know if you like Zouk music, but this is what we love in Martinique. Yeah. So Kassav, Zouk La America, and this kind of stuff. But it's more for Côte d'Ivoire. I owe it to Côte d'Ivoire.
Oh, interesting.
Coupé décalé and like this type of inspiration. Style?
Yeah. So if you ever see him anywhere, take him to the dance floor and you'll really see the dance moves pop out of nowhere. So tell me about the first time you took a trip to the African continent.
Oh, so actually it was, my grandmother can remember, because so I went to study in a business school. After my political science, I said, no, I don't want to be an ambassador anymore. Yeah. It was a dream, but actually it's not made for me. Yeah. So I said, what can I do? Well, I'm going to do business school. I took some classes. I went to the University of Chicago for an exchange program, and I was kind of like, mesmerized or hooked on business. So I went to the business school there, the Booth School of Business. And I said, okay, I want to, try the business path. When I came back to France, so I applied to business school, and I had, by serendipity, I stumbled upon a French fintech called Lemonway, that was launching or relaunching a project in Mali.
And you met this fintech while you were in business school?
Yes, there was a fintech talent fair. Okay. Actually, I had never heard the word fintech before that.
Wow. How many years ago was this?
It was in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The talent fair, no, actually it was 2015. Okay. So it was December 2015. Okay. I go to this talent fair. I met their CMO, Victor. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, they actually have a project where they gave a brand license to some entrepreneur in Mali. And it's actually going great. Well, Mali, I only knew Mali from the news because of the war and this kind of, like, okay, why not? Yeah. And then he told me like they need employee number one because they are funding like a new entity from the company. Okay. And they think like they have a lot of opportunity. Also because this company is headquartered in a city in France which is next to Montreuil, right? So Montreuil is like stuck to Paris, and this is a city where a lot of Malian people are. Oh wow! Actually, maybe a few tens of thousands are there, right?
And this is your first time ever going. So like you heard about this company that was expanding there, and then what?
So yeah, so to tell about the first time I went to Africa, so I said, okay, I want to do the internship there. They were not really ready to take an intern. So I said, don't worry about like paperwork. I'll just work for free for now. Just, show me the stuff, etc. I think it was December 2015. And then I say, okay, let me pick the phone and try to find some business meetings because they wanted to know if they can expand to Burkina Faso. So I tried to get some meetings, and I finally end up having a meeting with Total at the time with like top management. And they say, yeah, you can come in 2 weeks in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Okay. And I say, okay, can you book me a plane? And they're like, wow, yes, sure. So they booked me a plane. But I remember because I did my visa on January 15th. And January 16th is a terrorist attack in Burkina Faso. Oh, wow. Very bad terrorist attack. Like center of Ouagadougou on Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, which is like the kind of like Champs-Élysées or Fifth Street, or I don't know, like very famous streets. And they tell me like it's gonna be difficult to come, and I'm like, like everyone is freaking. A lot, like 10, maybe 20 people die in the attack. Yeah, and it's the first big attack in the capital state of Burkina Faso. But I still go. Yeah. And it was a strange feeling because
How did you tell your family that you're still going to go to
Burkina that's why I say my grandmother can relate, because first I told them like, oh, I'm going to go to Africa. So in their like mind, Africa was like...
danger, war.
Yeah, like, yeah. unfamiliar and a bit like in their mind it looked like a difficult continent. And since they're like, okay, where are you going? Burkina Faso, they never heard about it, or maybe because they knew about Thomas Sankara from some event or something. But now, like, they see that there's the terror attack just 5 days before I go. That was a challenge, but I said, I have to go. And this is how I started. And this is my first time.
So tell me about the moment you landed in Burkina Faso, first time in Africa. You grew up in France, coming here. What was the first reaction? What was the first feelings you had?
So I remember, first thing is when you come from Europe, for example, they tell you about like a lot of diseases that are widespread in Africa, like malaria. So I remember when I landed, they were like, okay, you have to take this medicine against malaria and be careful about the mosquitoes. And I remember there was one mosquito in the, there was a small bus between the airplane and the airport. And I saw this mosquito and I was like, oh, this is it.
I'm going to get bitten by that one mosquito and this is it. It's over for me right at the airport.
I was like, I don't have my, my spray is in my luggage. And he said, I shouldn't need my spray. And I was like, oh, don't, be careful, be careful. And then I remember, so I had a noisy friend. He lives in Abidjan also. And he was working for the French embassy. He come to fetch me. We're from the same school. So I reach out and say, okay, hey, I'm coming to Burkina Faso. And I remember I take my luggage and he had a small motorbike. And I was with my luggage like that
on the motorbike.
On the motorcycle in the night and going from, in the streets. And I remember it was like, oh, this feels like adventure. And I think
this guy got the OG Uber treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
And I think it's like for most people that discover, it's like I think like any emerging markets, I don't think it's like specific to Africa. But when you go in countries where you don't have infrastructure, because like in Europe, you would, or maybe in the US, but at least like in France, you would never having your luggage like that on the motorbike. I didn't have a helmet, you know. If you do that in France, you get pulled over immediately, you know.
Wow.
So this felt like, this was the first feeling, and I always remember that, like, you know, this lack, like, you see, like, you know, and very bubbling, like we were in the streets and a lot of people were like drinking in the streets. So a lot of like, you feel like very bubbling with life. But like a building world, like no infrastructure or very few infrastructure. So the roads were, first feeling was a bit that.
So talk about that. So you went there and then for this job at Lemonway, right?
Yeah.
And then, so when did you move to the continent? Or like, were you coming in and out and like doing work and projects?
Yeah, so I worked for Lemonway for almost like 1 year and 10 months, let's say almost 2 years. It was a great experience. So I got to travel a lot thanks to them. So I got to travel to Mali, Bamako, even some cities that now people don't visit often, like Kai and these cities. I went to Abidjan only once at the time. And I didn't go to Senegal when I was working for Lemonway. But I traveled between Bamako and Ouagadougou a lot. And for many reasons, I had to leave Lemonway. The project was not working that well, and also other reasons. And I said, no, I don't like, I only know this region, but I feel like I don't really know it yet. So I want to try to build something. And I can't now, 5 years later, I can't remember what made the spark.
There was no light bulb moment.
Yeah, because I remember that I set up an entity in Burkina Faso, which actually we've never used. But I was like, do that. And I almost autopilot, like do that.
And then did this.
And then for Julaya, there was a time where I needed, so with my co-founder, which worked with me, Charles.
So you met Char, your co-founder, at Lemonway.
Yes.
So you guys worked together there.
Yes.
And how did you know that Char was the person you wanted to start the business with?
Well, because first, it's very hard to have a technical co-founder. You know, like a lot of people are like, I need a CTO, I need a CTO.
Yeah.
I think like, it's one of the main pain points for business people.
Building a tech company, for sure.
For a tech company. You can't build a tech company without a CTO co-founder. I don't know the rate of success, but best tech companies is where the CTO is the CEO, you know, because they know about product. And I think because with Charles, he also liked the adventure. He's from Bretagne, so Brittany. So the Bretons are people that, you know, sail a lot, and they, you know, in their culture, they like to travel around the world.
Yeah.
So he liked it.
Yeah.
And I think like it was kind of natural. I was like, we get along well. He's very strong technically wise. He is not from a top coding school. He has like some like regional training in Brittany, but he's very strong, very logical, and it made me realize the importance of product, because also I didn't know about fintech, but I didn't know about product. Like the first hire we did at Julaya was a designer. And I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
A designer? We are not like an agency, you know. And he's like, we need that.
Yeah.
Because we need to have even if like the back end is not strong enough or high end of the back end, we need the front end to be appealing to the customer, and they need to feel like we have a superior product.
Yeah. But tell me about, so there's probably people listening to the show right now that are thinking about starting a company, but don't know how to pick their co-founder or who to pick as their co-founder.
Yeah.
What advice, like, not even advice, like what were the 2 to 3 things with your co-founder you're like, okay, you know what, I think we should work together?
So I think the most important is that you admire your co-founder, that you feel they are better than you. Because if you feel superior to your co-founder, I think like it's not a symbiotic relationship, because you will feel like you need to push them, etc. So you got to be complementary, right? Because you got to have like complementary skills.
So complementary skills would be the first big one.
And you got to admire them for that.
Okay.
Like not, they're okay in this field. You got to say, okay, I am completely clueless, but I trust them because they are, you know, amazing.
Okay.
So for me, it was the case with Charles, with design. And, you know, now I'm like, even though it happens, like for example, people can have a look at it, because I know another fintech called MoneySnap. I don't know if you know them. No. They're in remittance. Okay. You should know them.
Okay. And I don't. I'm learning on the job, guys. Like whoever's, okay, go on. MoneySnap.
So MoneySnap is also a French founder, and they are doing international remittance. Yeah. Ex-Google guys. So they had like this little sweet spot where they knew how to acquire customer really good, thanks to Google Ads tweaking. Okay. And this was how they got propelled, but it's another story. Yeah. But they recently rebranded. Okay. And please, MoneySnap forbid me, but when I saw the rebranding, I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this rebranding. So you can have a look at their new site. But Charles was like, this is the future of branding. And they had the agency that did the rebranding is a very famous and expensive agency. But actually it's like, you know, and I trust him. If he says that, I trust him. I'm like, no, but he's like, for consumer, he knows what's going to be the next trend. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So very interesting.
So let's see how long that company, no, I'm just kidding. that company is. So you decided, okay, now you picked a co-founder, but there's endless problems, right? Across the different regions you're looking at, like Burkina Faso, where you registered the business. How do you know that you wanted to build a B2B payments company in Francophone Africa?
So actually, we had, I would say, one major pivot. Because when we launched Julaya, it was B2B, but it was not payments. Why? Is because I was working in payments before. I had no non-compete in my contract, but I was like, I don't feel like, you know, doing the same thing. So I was like, I want to work in this region. I want to work with it on a tech product. And when I was working for Lemonway, I had this knowledge or this expertise with the telcos. Because for Lemonway, you know, in our region, you don't have access to USSD for third-party providers. The telcos were like, I give you access if I want. So if you're a fintech, well, this is the door. And I'm not going to give you access to the technology. So we were like trying to push the technology, see, can we go to a smaller telco and have them open the USSD for us, and it works on their USSD, how can we do that, etc. And I learned the SMS industry thanks to that. So I said, Julaya, first we wanted to be B2B, but instead of providing payments, we will provide you marketing. That was the initial idea. So we worked on it for, I think maybe end of 2017, so maybe 3 months. we went to, actually, this is where I met Partek.
Okay.
The fund wasn't closed.
Okay.
So I was talking to the seed fund from France.
Okay.
Claire Gaudron at the time, she was there.
Nice.
And Tijan, and they were like forming Partek. Yeah.
Nice.
And the fund wasn't closed. But I met them for Lemonway also before. And I think like there are many issues with the SMS industry. And most likely is that it's like this industry is working on, I would say it's difficult to make a very powerful business out of it because you have a lot of cheating in the industry about delivery rates, about so I think you can do a great company.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure, what's the name? There is one in Nigeria.
There's quite a few. But the global one is like Infobip, or the one in
So
East
we were
Africa
working,
is like
so actually I was working for, I was trying to push the USSD platform from Infobip for some telcos in Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So I worked with the Infobip guys.
Okay.
Very, like, I brought them to Burkina Faso actually. So we went to some business meetings where they're like, our USSD platform has 20,000 per second transaction. You should buy it because your USSD platform is going to become obsolete if you put the mobile money product on your USSD platform. Because it's like, you need high reliability. You don't want the platform to glitch or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is, I forgot the name of the one in Nigeria, but some are doing well, but it was, at the time, it was difficult for us, especially in our region, about the time, very few data on how much customers we could really have.
Yeah.
So we underwent this major pivot, major pivot in
2018. 2017, 2018.
Yeah, like around July 2018 when we got the first raise.
Okay.
I remember I went to see the former or the actual president of Lemonway.
Okay.
He liked us.
Yeah.
Even though like the product in Africa was not working well, he liked us as people.
Yeah.
And he said, "This is amazing. I'm going to invest." He's also a very famous angel investor called Damien.
Okay.
Garmont-Pré. He's very famous angel investor in fintech. And he convinced two of his friends to invest, and we convinced 2 or 3 other angels from the business school to invest also. So with that, we got 200K, and we said, to convince them, we say, okay, we want to reach this target of payments, merchant payments, small payments, mobile money payments. But it was not completely focused on medium to large enterprise. Yeah. It was from the small merchants to the biggest company. Nice. We had no real focus. Okay. And it took 1 year of product development to realize that this is the best approach that we wanted to have. Because if you tackle the market of small merchants, you can just be a core or a mono mobile money provider. You don't need to have interoperability like what we are doing. So this is how we went there. And actually, it's a good story because our investors, those first one, we just exited them with we gave them a return. Yeah, it was and I'm quite happy about it because I remember that a lot of time they told us that a lot of founders screw them over. Oh, wow. Like the angels. Wow. Like very successful founders, then they don't have time. Maybe it's not too intentional, but they don't really have time to give them exit opportunities when they can.
So Mathias, in this last round of funding, you decided to give your first angel investors an opportunity to exit the business. Yeah. And what made you think of doing that for them?
So it was an opportunity because we had a fund that wanted to come in, but we could not take so much dilution. Yeah. So we were like, we like this fund. Yeah. And also we like the opportunity that they could follow on in later rounds. So we said, okay, let's try to find secondaries. Yeah. And it matched. So we reached out to those angels and we said, now it's time if you want. You can get not a 10x return, but you can get a decent return. Yeah.
What was the return?
Return was 4x.
4x. Yeah. 4x in a couple of years. That's really good for them.
IRR 35%. Okay. So nice. It's like beating the market. Yeah. But when you're an angel, your return expectation is not 100x. Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah, yeah. But if you can take a 4, 5, 10x, you take it. Yeah. Because you're not like a fund. Like, I think when you're angel investing, except you do it professionally. But if you do it because you are a founder or something, you do it because you want to be in the game.
Yeah.
So you do it because it's exciting. You want to help them build, and it gives you commitment because you say, okay, I put 50K, I put 100K, I put 500K. Well, you're a big angel if you put 500K, but if you put this amount, when they reach out to you, you're like, okay, well, you know, every small bit can bring some return.
So tell me about the business today. You know, last year you guys raised a round that Speed Invest led. And where's the business at today, like in terms of traction? Like you guys have scaled to 3 countries. Like what's high level, like where you guys are at?
In terms of like figures or?
Yeah, or just like where, like, you know, you guys brought on a bunch of businesses, right? To use, like how many businesses do you have on the platform today?
So we have a little above 1,000 businesses.
Okay.
So we target medium to large enterprise. So when I say medium, for our region, it's starting around $500K turnover.
Okay.
Yearly turnover.
Nice.
So that's a medium size. It can be it has to be a company where you have some kind of financial department, maybe an accountant, maybe, you know, more structured, but our product is used by several people within the company. And the more people use it within the company, the better the stickiness we have with the product.
And as you guys were growing, right? I believe the team now is 70 people.
Yeah, around 70. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about people.
Yeah.
People make organizations. You've scaled from 0 or 2 people to 70 people over the last few years. Obviously, as the organization's grown across multiple countries, you bring in people with different backgrounds, different cultures, different perspectives coming to the same table with the same mission in mind. What have been the 2 biggest challenges or 3 biggest challenges with hiring people that you've learned across this process?
Okay, so there's a lot, right? With people, I mean, it's the heart of the thing. And the bigger you become, and the more it's about people. So your first hires is the most important, etc. But I would say, like, for the hiring process, the biggest lesson we got is intuition is always right. So you put all of this process, and sometimes you feel something isn't right. You follow the process, but you're like, by the process it works, but I feel like something's not working. And I think people don't follow enough their intuition because they think it's like irrational. But it's actually, I had a friend told me that it's actually a primal mechanism that your body sends to warn you that something isn't right, but that your brain hasn't had the time to fully process. And it's actually true. Like every time we had a bad intuition about a hire, it actually ended up revealing itself, you know? But it can be in the process, or it can be in the first, you know, few, like the trial period of the person. You feel some stuff and you're like, it's not going to make it. And you're like, let's try. And no, you should just, you know,
make the hard call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I've never seen it wrong actually in my personal case. Yeah. You know, and people try to say, oh no, you should never follow your intuition. It's like, you should be rational in your process. So that's the thing. And then also defining your culture. It's very hard because you always hear founders, like late stage founders saying culture is very important, because I think it's like building a culture for like 20 people is not too hard. Building a culture for like 100 people is much harder. Yeah. Because if you want to talk, let's say just even 10 minutes with each of your employee per year, you would need 1,000 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? It's not just possible. 10 minutes. Yeah, yeah. And the people will feel frustrated because you only talk 10 minutes to them. Yeah. So you can't have a personal relationship, etc. So you have to build this thing where people feel like they're close to the top management, even if they're not, because they don't really talk to the CEO or to the CTO. Very hard. Yeah. So that's what I think is about culture. It's like people feel close to each other without actually being. Right. Personally. Yeah. No, they are close to their teammates.
Have you ever been forced to make a hire that like you've regretted?
Yeah.
Or, yeah?
Yeah. So actually, it happened. And I think you should never listen to your board about hiring. Okay. Because it's like, it's your own process. Your board is not making your hiring. They can vet, but they should not push a hire to you, I think. Because it happened to us.
What happened?
So we had, we were, before our last fundraise.
So just to clarify, your board came up to you and was like, Mathias, we want you to bring in this person or
Exactly.
this type of person at
they
the company.
They said you need to show that you can hire top level people.
Okay.
Because we only had talent is very difficult, right? Yeah. And when you don't have money, just the equity, it's like you should give 10% equity to, you know, convince someone that's already done it, like it's worth it. Very difficult.
Yeah.
So they said, look at this profile. Yeah. She looks perfect on paper. Yeah. You should hire her.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, let's do the hiring process. And we had this intuition. We had like some stuff don't work, but...
So in the process, you had a gut feeling that like this is not going to work.
Yes.
But because you felt pressured by the board, you're like...
And that was a big mistake. Yeah. That was a big mistake because it was a perfect match on paper, but it was a failed hire for a top executive talent. And I remember when I listened to the CEO of Stripe on the podcast, and she said it was the same. Like a lot of executive hires, they fail because, you know, it's perfect match on paper, but people don't follow. Like, okay, it's not just about like your resume and how good your resume looks. You know, it's really about the person.
So you ended up hiring this person, and then letting them go.
Yeah, because it was a complete mismatch. This person was a killer executioner. But it was complete mismatch in terms of mingling or mixing with our culture. Like our culture is not, you know, I think culture can be different. And that's why I learned in the book, which I recommend, is What You Do Is Who You Are by Ben Horowitz from A16Z. And this book, it says like, there is not one way to do the culture. Every company has their own culture, which is tailored to their core business model. And he gives the example, which I really like, is Amazon had to have, you know, like paper table, almost like wood table for their top managers to show that it's all about cost cutting, that you build this empire because you're very lean on cost. Apple had to have like designer table to say like, we are the creative mind and we make the best product. We get the highest margins because we have like the best, you know, and most expensive talent. They are with us, you know. And you see that very two different cultures, very two successful tech companies, but completely different cultures. And so when you bring someone, if you bring someone from this, you know, cost-cutting mindset to Apple, it's going to bring the Apple culture because this is not how it works. Apple like hire always the most expensive, and because for them it's like the best, you know. It's not about cost-cutting. It's about getting the very rarest resource that actually, if it's rare, it's expensive. Right. And so when we brought this person, it was not fitting the culture because we are not in the culture where we need to be aggressive with our HR because we don't have a lot of HR. We are not in B2C, so we don't need thousands of customer support. So, you know, even our customer support, it's actually highly trained people. So it broke. And I had one of the employees call me crying, saying, I can't take it anymore. And it's like, okay, we have to stop.
Wow. Have you ever felt betrayed in your business?
By who?
At all?
Yeah. I mean, you get at the basis level, when an employee leaves you, you feel betrayed. Like, what did I do wrong? You know. So I don't think we have a high turnover regarding that. But when you have a bigger tech company that offers double the wage, what can you do for that? You know, you have your own reality. If they are better funded, they poach from you. You cannot, you know. But still, it feels bad. Then you have like, I think maybe the worst is like when we had a case where we had an employee that stole fuel, and I think that's a big problem. It happens in a lot of the companies. Even our customers, they have a lot of issues with the fuel. And the
fuel meaning like fuel for the car.
Yeah, fuel
so
for the car. So
somebody stole fuel from the car at your business.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it was obvious, and I don't know why they did it because we tracked the cars, so we had the map. They took fuel on a Friday and they took fuel on a Monday. Okay. It was New Year's Eve actually. So we're like, this is suspicious. Yeah. So like very bad, very poorly done in terms of stealing. Yeah. And it was, you know, it felt like a betrayal because you're like, okay, we are not this type of company where we are mismanaged, like not highly skilled people. Yeah. Like we try to, when we used to do seminaries with all the team, we used to bring the janitors to the seminary, you know, and like they had never been there. It was crazy for them. Like they'd never been by the sea with all the team, like doing and taking part to the, you know, activities.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's disappointing and frustrating when that happens. Now I want to talk about a personal element. So one thing that I've been learning and seeing a lot more is Western Africa's relationship with France, right? And some people say it's controversial, some people like it, some people don't like it, and you hear so many varying opinions on this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you this question because I feel similarly as an East African, right? My historical history is, my background is Goan. So south of India, then moved to East Africa 4 generations ago.
Exactly.
I've never been to Goa till today.
Yeah.
So I don't even call myself like, oh, I'm like, you know, I grew up in Tanzania. So Tanzania for me is, I carry a Tanzanian passport. My parents live in Tanzania. Like that's home for me, right?
Yeah.
And often, sometimes I get told, oh, you're not Tanzanian. Why? Oh, because you're brown, you're not black, and like all these other things. And like it creates this sometimes frustrating thing of identity and question that I have to ask myself. And so I want to ask you that question. So you're historically West Indies, and you grew up in France, and then now you come to Africa. And there's this dynamic of it's a relationship between France and like the Francophone region in Africa. I want to talk about it for a little bit, but how does that make you feel as a founder within the region?
So for some context, I think like we're getting in very touchy landscape, which I think I have not matured enough to, because I think like if I look at me in maybe 20 years, I'll be like, this is a dumb guy about the subject, you know? So I apologize because I think I'm going to say something dumb and because I don't master it enough. But when you talk about the issue, we have this issue. I think it's a burden because what France did is unforgettable and unforgivable. So even if you want to ask for forgiveness, as a country, France cannot be forgiven for what they did. Just like the US can't be forgiven by the Indians from America. This is also bad. Just like a lot of countries, Muslim countries that did colonization in East Africa and this kind of stuff. You cannot change what happened. About the issue of racism, it's still pregnant. Still pregnant in the US, still pregnant in France. And I remember my grandfather is from the West Indies, is browner than you, darker than you. Much darker than you. And I remember, because I had never experienced racism myself. And this is something that black people will tell you. Like, no, you can't experience it because you don't see the small thing that we see. You don't feel it because you're not experiencing racism as this mechanism or institutional mechanism of oppression, or I don't know how to define it, but you're not experiencing. And I remember I was at the post office with my grandfather, and people kept, passing in front of him, and he wasn't served by the post office in France, because the guy was like being a racist against him.
Your grandfather,
And when I went to the post office by myself, it didn't happen. And I experienced it for him because I was very upset for him. Like they would not listen to him and take his, I don't remember he was posting something or whatever, but this is like the first proxy experience I had about my grandfather. And I think part of my attraction to Africa is because I was reading, I did also literature. I love literature. So I was reading a lot of the books and literature about Africa from this mixed history. So from the West Indies, for a long time, the West Indies rejected any African descent. They would say, no, we're not African. I won't go into the horrors they could say, and it's only been since a very great, I think like the most impressive Martiniquese or even like French writer for me, Aimé Césaire. And this guy is a legend in Martinique. All the streets bear his name. You've got the Aimé Césaire. Aimé Césaire is everywhere. He was the mayor for the Fort-de-France, which is the capital state of Martinique, or main state of Martinique. He was a political figure in France, etc. And he wrote this amazing book called Cahiers d'un retour au pays natal. So it means like my book or my memoirs or my writings about getting back to my home country or home, like where I come from. And it's like, what's this, in the way I think, in the way I dance, in the way I talk, what are the origins I get from this continent? And so for me, what I see is here in West Africa, for example, you could also be privileged as being like a French speaking because in, for example, Côte d'Ivoire is a very friendly city. But also you see like people reject a lot France and to some extent they're right, you know, and for many reasons, they're right. So for me, I try not to mingle into that. I'm like, but like, you know, what can I do? I'm like,
so the reason I'm also asking this is because I'm trying to understand, right? So like, if I was in your shoes and I moved from like France here, and like there's a dynamic, because I face this as a Tanzanian, Indian in Tanzania, or you know, in East Africa, because sometimes like people with Indian backgrounds don't have a great history within the region of how they treated people historically within the region. And people have that assumption for me. And so when I'm growing my team and my company, I think about that, you know, and it gets to me sometimes because somebody will make a comment. I'm like, oh, like, you know, I'm not like that, but, you know, but there's an assumption that somebody creates. And so do you feel similarly? So like, you and can you give me an
I feel similarly, but now we decided in our culture team is that for any higher level, top management, middle management, we ask for dual culture. So we ask for people to have culture, like to feel these displacements, because I think this is what brings the richness of the company. So you have to feel like you belong to a Western culture and to an African culture at the same time. Either because you were born in the US, but you are from African descent, or because you were born in Côte d'Ivoire and you did your study in France, or, you know, because you worked for a US company for 15 years and now you feel a bit like a US citizen or US, you know, like-minded person. And I think what's important is that it doesn't really matter. How can I say it? So for us, it's like, okay, I can say it like in France, for example, the history of France is they were the Francs, you know, les Francs, right? And they were like, it was called barbarians by the Romans. And the Romans, Caesar, he came and it was also before Caesar, but let's say, let's simplify, right? The Romans came and they colonized France, you know. But today, France, we are really happy to have this Roman heritage. But I think we don't remember, but maybe the Franks were really, really, really reluctant about the Roman presence at the time because he was like a colonizer. So I think for now, it's the same thing. It's like you had this colonizing because you had like a stronger power, like an empire or many empires that wanted to, you know, get to these countries. And it's going to have impact for maybe 500 years before it's all forgotten. So we're in a moment now where we can't really do anything about it. No, so we can't just be positive. So that's why for me, it's like sometimes I'm like, okay, let's just stop debating. Let's just build the future because it's only 1% built.
So has there been times where people just assumed something on you because like you're white, you're from France, you come to, you know, West Africa, and there's historical history, and then people just have this prejudice towards you? And how do you react to that?
So for example, and a lot of right-wing white person will like deny it, but the white privilege exists. So, and I see it, for example, I'm in the airport in Côte d'Ivoire and my bag doesn't get checked because they assume that, I don't know, you know, I see a lot of people getting checked and they're like, oh, thank you, sir. I'm like, okay, why don't you check my bag? You know? So I think like but also you get past it. You get past it.
But why do you think they didn't check your bag?
Well, I think it's just because they were checking the weight of the bag. So they were, you know, they're like, okay, he's not, or maybe he's not gonna bribe me or whatever, or you know. So they're like, okay, just go. I don't want trouble, or I don't know the reason. You know, many reasons maybe, but you feel this because the others are like, I'm gonna miss my flight, and me, I'm like, no, I won't miss my flight. They're not gonna retain me for the weight of my luggage. And this is just a small example. But then, you know,
skills.
This is the equivalent of the, you know, you cannot experience white privilege if you're, or you can sit by proxy. Because you see like, why don't you check the bag of this guy and you check me as an Ivorian, you know? But so for me, it's like also, get past it. Try not to get this privilege. So for example, when you're queue and they don't check your bag, you just say, check my bag. I'm, you know, if you're in according to law, just check my bag. I respect the law.
No, for sure. No, I understand that. And look, I know it's a tough question to ask you, but like I just wanted to understand your perspective and hear, like, especially as you're building a business in this region.
No, but I make a lot of mistakes too, you know, and you understand after. That's why when I look at this conversation in 20 years, I'll be like, this guy, I don't recognize. You know, it's like looking at your first Facebook post from 29. And you were like, was it me?
Exactly. Mathias, as you build Julaya and even think and reflect about your life, you spend a lot of time away from your family, away from maybe friends that you grew up. How do you balance out your personal life while you're building this business full time in multiple African countries?
Yeah, so I think being a founder is being very lonely. So you can't be a founder if you... I think you can't be a founder if you can't experience loneliness in decisions, in, you know, being away from your family, etc. So you gotta accept that, right? But I would say for me, and maybe there's different stages from founders. Like I think you and me, we haven't built our family, but we have founders friends that build their family and that stay more with their family. And I would say this is why it's good to embrace.
Basically, he said we're both single. Is the summary there? But go on. So.
But it's like embracing. I'm not saying that. It's like
okay. He's not saying he's single. He's okay. Maybe he's announcing that. All right, this is a news to me. So that's why it's an exclusive. But go on.
It's like embracing this stage of your life. And this is also why I think in the tech space. VCs like to bet on young founders because they know that they can dedicate a lot of their time, much more than a later stage. I mean, like later in their life, that they have a family, that they have many distractions, but it's counterbalanced by the fact that they don't have any experience. You know, so I think you got to live through this stage, and having later stage founder, they also, you know,
are massively successful as well. 100%.
More successful, actually.
I think they said like average age of like 40 plus is like way more successful.
For the unicorn, But I think they went through this stage also. And it's also a lonely game. And it's, I think the worst is like, but that's why I would say the base characteristic of a founder is a natural amount of optimism. Like, no matter the difficulties, they will always be optimists, saying, this will work. Again, my CFO is like, no, I look at the figure, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And I'm like, trust me, it's going to work. Then maybe it doesn't work and I forget. I'm like, no, do it again. Let's do it again. And the people that don't have this can't be founder. And so the amount of optimism you have is in every aspect. Like even your personal finance. I know that a lot of founders, and it's, you have to fake it, like you won't show that you're broke or that you can't pay that much or that, you know, you're like...
gosh, that sucks. I hate that. We go to an expensive dinner, I'm like, yo, that food is so expensive. I don't want to pay for it.
Like, you're not going to show that, but you also... And it's very difficult, you know. And for a lot of first-time founders, that's why now when I advise, I say, but if you can save some money on the side, like do it, because it's very difficult if you really don't have any money to be a founder. Like... It's much easier if you have some like, you know, things on the side that you can, you know, tap into in case it's like very difficult. For me, I had student debt up until last year.
So you had student debt the last 5 years of your business. And you just still
I wasn't paid. I wasn't paid at July. I wasn't paid for 2 years. I took a personal loan. So to finance Julaya. So I put it not even in equity, I put it in current account. So I didn't get equity for that. And then I didn't get a salary, I got just reimbursement of this current account. No interest.
So you talked about dealing with loneliness, and this is a big challenge. How do you manage dealing with loneliness?
I think it's a character. So it's not like if you can't bear being lonely, you would not manage it. It's more like a trait. So maybe the first trait is optimism, and one of the trait is like you can handle loneliness. So you don't feel like you need to have people around you. Like you can take a book, you can read a paper, you can or go for a walk alone. You know, a lot of people would not even go for a walk alone. You know, saying like, oh no, I need to. So this is the trait, right? So yeah, for me, I would say like you enjoy things like are not too social maybe, and you're okay with it. Like you don't feel like you're missing out something because you're not with others.
Nice. Tell me about, what does success look like for you with Julaya?
So I used to think that financial return was not important. I used to think like, you know, it was more like social return, etc. But now I'm more nuanced. I would say like we live in this capitalist world and we are embracing it. If you're an entrepreneur, you should embrace it. You can have some view on how, you know, especially about externalities. I think now capitalism is incorporating externalities. So you are thinking what's your carbon footprint, what's your social impact, etc. But it's still at the core of capitalism. Because what brings or what elevates society is capitalism. You know, lifting people out of poverty, it's by financial return. So now for me, success will be like building a great company, which valuation is not fake, it's true, because it creates economic activity for people. So I'm like, the best reward, the best feeling you get is when you get a customer that says, oh, I can't live with it without Julaya. I could not run my business without Julaya anymore. You know, I don't know how I did it before. You know, and this is why we're doing payments, but we also have some credit pilots, let's say. And credit is the most wonderful thing, and because it's like playing with time. Payments is just, you know, maybe accelerating a little bit, you know, your operational efficiency because you're tending faster or cheaper. So you have higher margin or you rotate your working capital faster. So higher margin. So you increase your operational efficiency. But credit is you borrow from the future, you know, and it's having one of the, it's not a new invention, but it's technology is bringing very interesting ways to think about credit. And I'm very excited. So it's nothing related to Julaya, but I just started to, you know, learn about save no pay later. And I think it has so much more potential than buy no pay later, especially here. And it's just an interesting form of credit because it's not borrowing to the future, but it's forcing yourself now to be able to target some, you know, and I think for consumer, it makes a lot of sense, you know, and it's, you know, it's the other way around, but for our market, it's interesting. And you can think about credit not only because you borrow from the future, because you also force your behavior to go in some direction.
What matters to you most in life and why?
Enjoying.
Enjoying.
So like a lot of people don't enjoy the work they do. And I always say like, just quit your work. You know, even if you go homeless or not maybe homeless, but jobless for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, have some friends help you, live on a low budget and find something that really resonates with you. And, you know, enjoy whatever moment you do, enjoy it. And especially enjoy the time with your family. So even for me, like I had this realization from reading some stuff on Twitter about the people, but I was reading this and it was really striking to me. I sent it to my father actually, because my mother passed away 2 years ago. It was a terrible moment. I didn't tell my investor, but it was a terrible moment because she had a very bad accident. She was in emergency at the hospital and it was terrible because I basically see her die with my sister. So very terrible. And then after I thought a lot like, okay, what are all the moments I would miss with her, you know, that because she was not old, like 50, 52. And then I wrote this stuff about the age of my father. So my father is now not too old either. It's like 57 or 58. And, according to the average age expectancy, if I see him only once a year in France for the men, I will maybe see him 20 times more. So every time I see him, it's 5% of the remaining time I should see him. So when you have that in mind, you're like, okay. And I saw this graph about
the time you spend with family, and it goes down over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who do you spend your time with? And so, if you never do something that you don't enjoy and enjoy every moment you're, spending with people, even if you're not doing something very exciting, but just talking to the person, having a great conversation, sharing some food, sharing some culture, going to the beach, enjoying the sun. Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah. If your mom was here today, what would you tell her?
I love her.
And how has the passing affected you as you're building your business?
I try not to think about it. So I was more like, I'm going to support my sister. I'm going to support my brother. And we don't have the same mother with my brother. So his mother is still alive. It's my half brother. That's it. But with my sister,
how has mom's passing impacted the way you look at work?
I try not to get lessons from it. Like, so she had a very bad disease also whole her life. So it was more like I was happy because I had set up a ritual with her. So I was calling her every day before she went to bed, and she would read me a poem. I would read her a poem. So we did that and I have the list of all the poems we read.
Wow.
And actually I have the last poem I read her before she had the accident. And after that, no more poems. But then I said, her mother, she's still alive. So my grandmother, she's still alive. And so I said, okay, for her, I'm going to, keep this tradition alive. So I'm reading a poem, not every day because my grandmother is a bit tired, but every week on Sundays, I call her and we read a poem. And we're like,
oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing. How do you, having your mom pass away while you're building a business and you have investors and this pressure to
I think they will learn it from this podcast because I didn't tell them.
Wow.
Because I didn't want, I think when you hear that from an external perspective, you get too many worries for I was like, yeah, this is life. Okay, this is terrible, but you can't do anything about it. And I don't want this to be a reason for the business not going well, So if I felt like I could not handle, I would have just said, okay, I need to step down. I can't do both at the same time.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be an excuse because everyone's parents is going to pass away at some time.
Yeah.
You should but now when I see someone, and I think as long as you haven't had one of your parents pass away, you can't feel the way that people feel, and you can't experience the way that or put yourself in their shoes and feel the terrific loss this is.
Yeah.
And some people say the mom is worse than the dad. So when it's your dad passing away, maybe you feel the loss less because you have less connection. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now once it happened, then
You're 29 today. What would you tell young Mathias if you met him right now?
I would tell him the older Mathias is going to tell you all the time that you're completely douchebag. No, that's true.
But what advice would you tell young Mathias?
Sorry?
What advice would you tell young Mathias?
In terms of regret, for example,
hey, this is how I think you should look at life. You said enjoy.
Yeah. Something that'd be useful would be, and I think it's true, don't care too much about what people think about you, right? Because you overestimate how they think about you. And it's not an issue if people say, this guy, I don't like it, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe also don't underestimate the small impacts or the large impacts of the small things you can do. Like saying like,
reading
I
a
don't
poem
like
or
being
something.
mean to someone,
Yeah.
you know, even like someone like, I don't know, like that seems insignificant to you from your status. Like the janitor, for example, or the cleaning lady or the fatou, as we call it in Senegal. You know, it's not because they seem insignificant that every small act you do, being mean, I think is like, and I used to sometimes have this, you know, like say, why, etc. And I'm like, it doesn't bring anything. It can only bring bad stuff.
Yeah, this is true. We were driving around Senegal, and like people would come and ask for money, and then Mathias would try to help them out whenever he could. That's all I can attest.
Well, I'm not saying spend all of your money, but I'm not saying like. So actually, I am bad at this, so I make a budget.
I have
otherwise
I'm giving away everything.
But and it's I think it's also very in this culture. And like for example, in Europe, you've lost this, or in the US. I think in the US is the worst. That's why, for example, when you walk in the street of New York, you've got beggars and people not even look at them. Well, maybe you can just say them hi, you know, how you doing? Sometimes can be annoying because they will try to follow you, etc. But you know, just if you don't do it all the time, do it sometime.
Just acknowledge them. Yeah, cool. Last fire round of questions. You love sports. Mathias actually goes running here and there when he can. He told me he was going to do push-ups, but I never seen him do push-ups. So
okay, let's go.
We'll see if he actually does push-ups. I think I can do more push-ups than him, but we'll see. I'm joking. I probably can't. So, all right. Important question. Ronaldo or Messi?
Oh, sorry. What's the question?
Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi?
Can I answer that?
You have to answer. You have to pick one.
Well, Messi, yeah.
Wow. Yo, I don't think we're gonna be friends after this call.
even though, like, you know, for the last final, I actually switched off my TV.
Really?
Yeah.
What, it was 3-3?
No, before.
Okay, what, it was 2-0?
Yeah, I was like, it's over. And then I go to the metro. I was actually in Paris at the time.
Wow.
I go to the metro and I was supposed to sit with some friends. I was alone at first and I was supposed to join them. I go to the metro and I say, okay, I'm just gonna put it. It was the time where I wanted to go to buy my Christmas presents because I would think that everyone was on TV and I would be alone in the shops. So I go and then I hear like, Mbappe. I'm like, what? And like everyone's becoming crazy. And I'm doing my Christmas groceries. And I'm like, oh shit. And so no one's like, you can't buy stuff because everyone is watching the match. So I'm like putting everything and I'm like, okay. So I say like, they won. It was like a close tie, and you know, Messi is the choice.
Wow. Okay. African Cup of Nations is here in Cote d'Ivoire next year.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win? Or who are you rooting for?
So we have to cut this on, but so I hope it's Senegal, but I'm sure I'll be happy if it's Cote d'Ivoire also.
Yeah, I believe you guys might be sponsoring the part of it, maybe.
We'll try.
Yeah, we'll try. Yeah. Okay, that means free tickets for all of us and everybody watching the show. Marty's like, no. Cool. And then what about, what is the best dish for me to have
in Cote d'Ivoire?
Yeah, in Cote d'Ivoire.
So, for me, it's shukuya. Shukuya are like,
what is it?
It's a way of cutting you can do it with beef or you can do it with chicken, for example, or actually a lot of meat. Yeah. But it's the way they cut it. They had some onions and it's like a bit stewed. So, and it's, for me, I love it. Yeah. And then you, as a side, you gotta have attiéké because it's the like national, you know, I'd say fierté. It's the national, dish. Yeah. Wow. They even tried to have it at UNESCO, I think. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So attiéké, manioc, you know. Yeah. Or you can have aloko also. It's like plantain.
That's amazing. I have to try that. He has to take me to try that before I leave. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exclusive interview with Mathias, the co-founder and CEO of Julaya. To remind everybody, Julaya is a B2B payments platform in Francophone Africa, operating across 3 different countries today: Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Benin. More countries coming soon. They enable businesses to collect, money as well as make payments, bulk disbursements, and they also have a card for enterprises to issue and manage accounting within that same platform. Check them out on their website. And Mathias, thank you so much for being on our Build Africa Speaker Series.
Thanks, Benjamin. I need to hire you. You're much better than me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.